Hello everybody and welcome. I'm finally running pfSense virtualized, and to get here was harder than it looks. A lot of the preparation work that I did previously, preparing the VM and so on, didn't work because of an issue in virtualizing the BSD installation in the Windows Server. I ran into a few problems in regards to this Spectre meltdown fixes that are part of the Linux kernel that cause the VM to crash. I tried a few flags and I couldn't resolve it at all. And after a lot of struggle, I decided that I'm gonna, instead of trying to save the world and go after all the bugs that could happen, why not try virtualizing it in FreeBSD, as pfSense is also based on FreeBSD, and the FreeBSD box that I have running bhyve is actually my NAS, my FreeNAS server. And I'm online for a couple of hours already without any issues. The performance is brilliant and actually better than my standalone device because I was limited by a fast Ethernet interface and now I have a gigabit. In the meantime, I almost gave up on migration and went back to my hardware router, but it died overnight. I'm not sure if the power supply or what, but it just doesn't power on. The lights blink like crazy, it doesn't boot, I cannot recover the firmware, so it's going to trash. So this little guy here, after 5+ years of service, decided to die. And actually now I get faster connection because bonding my two interfaces together, I get 110 megabits per second, and that's more than I could get here. This goes back to my lab. It was running in production for 2 years as a HA proxy, but I don't need it anymore. Which means that here, things look much cleaner. I moved the DSL modem up here. My FreeNAS server is still here, running fine. My silent server now is underutilized, which means that in the future I will probably move everything from here, from the HP here, and have a fully silent system. And with that, probably I won't need the switch anymore. So, looks much better. Less electricity, less wires, easier to manage. Perfect. I don't need. Everything fits my UPS now. The first issues I had were quite easy to fix. Initially, my server had only one Ethernet card, and then I added that second card with 4 interfaces, and those interfaces were not coming up automatically on boot. I never came actually to the point of actually configuring them to come up during boot. But of course I needed the virtual machine to detect the interfaces up, so I had to put them up here. And before that, when I created the virtual machines on my Mac Pro, they had different interfaces, and a simple VBox manage modify VM, and then you bridge the interfaces direct to the VM with this command. That's enough to get everything working. After all of that, I was still having crashes and high CPU utilization. So the next step was actually to disable the Spectre patch fix, or how they call it, mitigation, on my virtual machine. And that was done by issuing the following command to modify the VM. And after that, I was still getting crashes and I didn't know what to do then. Then I thought, well, maybe the problem is not with the Spectre patches, maybe it's with the interfaces. So I managed to reduce CPU utilization considerably by, instead of using the virtualized device, the Intel whatever that is set, I reconfigured my VM to use the virtual I/O, and that is much lighter on the CPU. During my quest to find the solution for the VM just disappearing and not leaving any log behind, I found out here that yes, the Spectre meltdown mitigation was a problem, and I initially here I found the commands to disable it on the VM, and yeah, it was indeed not enough. So to disable it on the guest OS. I actually did it both on the guest OS and on the host OS. I already deleted my guest OS virtual machine because I needed the space. But if you go here, you see that I was already super tired and almost screwed up my bootloader. I had to copy it from another server to fix it. Right, that's what I do here. But then what I did was to edit the grub configuration to disable the mitigation on the kernel during boot time to see if the performance and the stability would improve. So the flag is this one, no PTI. And if you look around the internet, there are all the flags that you can use to turn off all the possible mitigations for these modern vulnerabilities. Yeah. But I was following the forum posts and suggestions from people who managed to actually fix the problem, so I thought that this was enough. And well, it wasn't, right? So I also switched off the mitigation on my VM server. So even if I go here now, you will see that I am vulnerable to the Spectre bypass and to meltdown. And although Spectre seems to still be here, but in any case, I don't really like much the idea of having my servers vulnerable. So I decided that I haven't done it yet, but I'm gonna undo this flag now, and then I'm gonna move. Well, I already did, but I would move the whole router to my FreeBSD box, and that's where we are running now. So as I was explaining earlier, virtualizing the FreeBSD pfSense in my silent server failed. Or basically the server didn't really enjoy, being virtualized like that. Like it was just randomly crashing, I couldn't figure it out. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna try to virtualize that in the FreeNAS box, because then probably if I'm visualizing FreeBSD into FreeBSD, it should be fine on bhyve. Let's try. Get the network card out. I think I'll be able to install the network card here without removing the whole server apart, so fingers crossed. And also, since I'll be virtualizing something else and I don't want to starve the ZFS system of memory, I will also put back 16 gigs of RAM and move those 8 gigs back to my silent server. That was easier than I thought. Took me only 20 seconds. You can just screw it back in and 4 interfaces for our network. It's looking really good. 6 Intel gigabit interfaces. I think the onboard ones are also Intel. Super lovely. The RAM is easy. Or is it? Well, I should do both sides at the same time, so I need my hands. And it's done. So I have enough RAM for ZFS and the VM running pfSense. It should not be too much for the dual core CPU, the loads are not really high at my place. The only device that I own with a VGA port is ironically my LCD TV. So, and you see me shirtless there, anyway. So, let's see what happens and what IP address I get, and then let's try to visualize this. Oh, I changed memory, so it's gonna test it. Meh. Oh, I think it passed. Oh yeah, I think now I have 2 HP sticks, one from the old micro server, one from the new, so It shows that HP smart memory. I have no idea what that means, but it should be good, right? Sometimes less is more. There are not many options here on FreeNAS to configure your VM, but it's enough and it works. The performance is good. So to create the VM, I just go here to add. I choose FreeBSD. You can call it whatever, your router. Then here, I prefer to use UTC clock so all my logs are aligned, but you can do whatever you want. UEFI works fine with virtualized pfSense, so you leave that because you get VNC here and you don't need to bind to any interface now, to any IP address now. I assign 2 CPU cores and 1024, but you can use as much as you need. I created a new hard disk image and virtual.io works. And here on my ZFS installation, I created a special pool only for my VMs, and you can use it there or as you prefer. I'm using virtual.io adapter drivers because of performance. And then I have 6 interfaces, 2 from the micro server and 4 from my extra card. You can choose which one you want to use. You're gonna have to configure more later, right? Installation media. Here you're gonna have to upload the image before to the server, right? So if you go to VMs, you can see that my pfSense image is already here. I tried to use this uploader installer image file, but that didn't work. Yeah, I clicked on upload and nothing happened. Maybe it's a bug on the interface. So you can do whatever you want. SCP works fine. Then once you run the machine, then what you're going to have to do is stop it and go here to edit. Oh, sorry. Go to devices. And you're gonna have to add a NIC 4 times, right? Basically, you click here, go NIC, choose the adapter, generate a MAC address, and do it 4 times, or as many interfaces you're gonna use. I have 2 providers, a LAN interface, and there's an interface that I'm gonna assign to another VLAN for testing purposes. So I haven't configured that one yet. I'm going to leave it for later because I'm really sick of this for now. But that's what you need. And once you run the VM, you can go here to back to virtual machines. Open the remote VNC and it works fine. You can do the configuration from here. I had a very weird problem though. No matter how hard I tried, nothing that I would do would get PPPoE working. And PPPoE was working before in Linux, so I think something related to how bhyve is virtualized in the network interface. But that's not a big deal. I reset my DSL modem for the first time in ages to work as a router, and I just configured it to have the IP the IP of the pfSense router as destination for all ports, basically the DMZ. Yes. So any lost packet goes there, and I don't have to worry about PPPoE. It's not elegant, I don't like it. Maybe the performance is not as it could be, as it could have been, but I'm not gonna buy another computer. I'm not gonna get in the near future a standalone router, and it works great. My web service is already working. So if you're trying to virtualize pfSense and on FreeBSD or on FreeNAS like I did, then really don't break your head too much. It doesn't seem to be working. I have a good NIC, it's a real server. So just forward the ports and be happy. And it should work for you unless you have a very, very specific use case. So if we go here, my DSL connection is actually set as the HCP. And I had all sorts of issues. It would not get the MTU, the service for PPPoE, the PPPP service, 3Ps, PPP, would crash. So I just gave up on fighting it. The best part of it is that my performance is actually much better. Before I was getting 35 to 40 megabits per interface, and I couldn't get them both together. Sometimes I'm getting visually 50 or 60 megs, but now together, if I run a speed test, it's really using both both interfaces to all their potential. So each provider gives me 50 megabits in theory, and I'm getting 100, and that is perfect. And my upload's also excellent. It's not going to help me much, but it's going to allow more people to connect to my servers with a decent performance. And that's the topic of the next video that I'm going to record right away, dual WAN configuration on pfSense.